Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Opera 101 with Cleveland Opera Theater. My name is Stephanie Ruozzo, and I'm an Education and Outreach Associate series where we invite our audiences in to see what's going on in the minds of musicians as they create and process opera. And we do want this to be a meeting of the minds. So please, at any time, comment in the comment box and we'll chat either during the live chat or afterwards, and we'll get back to you, or email me at sruozzo@clevelandoperatheater.org. That's SRUOZZO at clevelandoperatheater.org. And I look forward to discussing any bit of opera with you there. So as you may know, it is Mozart month here at Cleveland Opera Theater. So this week we're kicking off the celebration of this great composer with a general overview of his life and times. And as part of that, I want to examine this professional rivalry that drove some of Mozart's greatest creations. Or did it? And today we're going to look at the real relationship between Mozart and Viennese royal court composer Antonio Salieri. So who was Salieri and what was his relationship to Mozart? Well, Salieri was born in Legnano in 1750, so just 6 years before Mozart. He was orphaned in his early teens, but gained the patronage of Florian Gassmann, and he traveled to Vienna at 15 under Gassmann's patronage to study with Christoph Willibald Gluck, another leading opera composer at that time. And Salieri began playing with the court chamber musicians upon his arrival for Emperor Joseph II directly. And by 1774, he was appointed court composer and director of the Italian opera there. So mainly his forte and his duties involved Italian comedic opera. In this capacity, he even brought Lorenzo da Ponte, Mozart's collaborator on 3 of his most famous comic operas, to Vienna, and he set Pierre Beaumarchais' libretto Turare. He befriended Pietro Metastasio, the librettist par excellence, against whom all other poets strove throughout the Baroque and classical era. If you ever hear Metastasian poetry referenced as important to the development of opera libretti, that's the Metastasio that they're referring to. Salieri was quite accomplished. He taught Beethoven, Schubert, Meyerbeer, and Liszt. So he was a rock star in the 18th century and actually known as quite a good-humored man, according to the Irish singer Michael Kelly. And he was a good friend of Mozart. So they actually got along pretty well. And the whole court had a lot of respect for Salieri, and in fact, Salieri conducted Mozart's music, and recent evidence has shown a collaboration on some pieces between them. In the Czech Museum of Music, in their reserve collection, just in the past few years, a German musicologist found a song that Salieri and Mozart composed together, titled Per la recuperata salute di Ophelia, so for the recovered health of Ophelia. And so it's dedicated to an English singer upon her return to the music profession. And it's just one short song, but obviously they had to get together and be amicable on some level for that. So the big question is, did Salieri poison Mozart? And there's absolutely no evidence for this, and no motivation that Salieri would have for that either. After all, why would a famous and steadily employed star composer care about a young kid who couldn't lock down a job? And for as much as we revere Mozart today, we should remember that for a large part of his career, he could not lock down steady employment at any court. He was always kind of hired ad hoc and working from commission to commission. The only source of information regarding a tension between the two comes from Constanze Mozart, obviously the composer Mozart's wife, and she talks about Così fan tutte, which Salieri had been offered first but refused to set to music. And when Salieri refused it, Mozart had such a huge success with it. Salieri was like probably not thrilled, but that's, I think a pretty understandable position for any composer. And Mozart just used Salieri as an excuse in his letters home to placate his overbearing father Leopold when things didn't go Mozart's way at court. So Mozart himself did not hate Salieri, the man, but Salieri provided a really convenient excuse to Leopold whenever Mozart did not get the jobs that Leopold thought Mozart should have. Well, it's all this Salieri guy's fault. So that's basically the documented tension we have during their lifetimes. And the only animosity really developed after Mozart's death, because Mozart's death and the cult of personality surrounding Mozart meant that Mozart's music kept getting performed while Salieri kind of, to quote one of the critics, outlived his fame, and he slowly faded in popularity. He dwindled into obscurity in his old age. And the rumors about this poisoning were started by Mozart himself. On his deathbed, he really believed that he had been poisoned. And people kind of just assumed it must have been Salieri. And other composers believed and even furthered the rumor. Rossini joked about it to Salieri's face, and Beethoven wrote about it in his notebooks. So finally, in 1823, a demented Salieri admitted, quote unquote, admitted to poisoning Mozart. But in his more lucid moments, when he was in charge of his faculties, he was, oh my gosh, that's such a lunatic raving. No, I did not, I promise. But these rumors kind of became viral, and they went into the canon with Alexander Pushkin's play, Mozart and Salieri, which the composer Rimsky-Korsakov later turned into an opera. So Alexander Pushkin's play opened within 6 years of Salieri's death, and Rimsky-Korsakov's opera in 1898. Salieri died in 1825, and Pushkin's play was first performed in 1830. So again, less than 6 years. He was very much in the cultural consciousness for a lot of the audiences that had seen Salieri's operas and loved the man throughout his life. Finally, Peter Shaffer in 1979 wrote the play Amadeus, based on Pushkin's play. So Shaffer kind of modernizes it, updates it, gives it a more 20th century sensibility. And of course, then it got turned into the uber popular 1984 film. And a few excerpts from the soundtrack are basically all most people know of Salieri's music today. And the assumption that he did indeed poison Mozart. So what is Salieri's legacy? Well, the best known legacy is the rumor that is all but proven false. But he did leave behind a respectable oeuvre. And it's been reviving since the early aughts. In 2004, La Scala actually restaged the opera that Salieri had composed for the grand opening of La Scala in 1778. Cecilia Bartoli has done a lot of recuperative work to preserve Salieri's music, recording an entire album of his compositions. Conductor Riccardo Muti has pled for him, and then later done a lot to bring Salieri's work into the repertoire. And a dozen of Salieri's operas have since been revived. So we actually get to experience this music in our own lifetime. Musically, Salieri was known as quite conservative, but he did have the talent of creating these inventive melodies with brilliant orchestrations, creative combinations of timbres that really made each instrument sparkle the way it was supposed to. And his operas, despite this musical conservatism, had rather daring subject matter. So he was known for pushing the boundaries in his texts, or the texts that he chose, I should say, even if his music kind of fit into the norms of the period. He was known as a cosmopolite, and he composed French opera as successor to Gluck in Paris. So when he went to this French idiom, he used thinner textures and sparser harmony, but retained those Italian melodic traits. So this ability to switch between national styles is a huge part of his legacy, according to music critic Alex Ross. And this is what we recognize and have benefited from today with Salieri. And that's what he has left to us, is this notion of being able to speak different musical languages, if you will. So I want to thank you so much for joining me for Opera 101 today. Please do visit clevelandoperatheater.org to get on board our mailing list and get all of the information about our whole season coming up to you digitally online. Our Opera for All online events are going on throughout the next several months. Tomorrow, please join us for Page to Stage, same time and place as our Opera 101. And of course, check out our ongoing series of Rossini's Barber of Seville every Saturday evening, 7 p.m. on our YouTube channel. We'll be streaming that live for the next 3 Fridays, and you can catch the 2 episodes that have already streamed on our YouTube channel now. Please do join us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Like us at all those places and get all of our content, all the things we're sharing in those places. And we'll definitely catch up with you there. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.